It's like the force needed to be strong.
And referendums, I'm the returning officer. So my role in this process is to make sure the process is as fair as possible and that every side has an equal opportunity to give their point of view across to you. It's really important when we're talking about debates of this nature that we make sure we've got a safe space that we can have that conversation in. So if we can make sure, please, that any comments, any questions that are raised are done in a respectful manner and that you respect both sides of the debate regardless of where your particular preference might fall. I'm sure that goes without saying anyway, but if you can, please pay particular attention, particularly when we talk about sometimes some controversial issues that you feel passionately about. It's important to remember that. The format of today is that we have the yes campaign and we have the no campaign. I'm sure they'll introduce themselves to you as they start speaking. Both sides will have an opportunity to do a 10-minute talk to you. We'll begin that with the yes side, then we'll have a 10-minute response from the no team. Then we'll have a 5-minute chat from the yes team and a 5-minute chat from the no team. At any point during this, you are very welcome to think about questions and start writing them down on the sheets that have been circulated out to you. If you do have a question and you want to submit it at any time, just hold it up in the air for us and one of the team will come and collect it. We are being live streamed, so if I could ask the people between me and Claire behind us not to wave their yellow bits of paper high in the air, that will help the excellent viewing of the 5 of us up here, and I'm sure we'll all had our makeup done and touched up to our absolute best today. Yeah, no, fair point, Cheryl. So if you can, if you just sort of hold it up, the team will see it, so we'll be able to come out and get those questions down. The questions that you ask will be just checked through for validity from the team to make sure that we've got a nice wide variety of questions in there, so we can't always guarantee that everything's going to be asked. And if you can, just pop your student number on the top corner of those questions coming in as well, that would be good. Okay, any questions before we start? Fantastic, it's going wonderfully well so far. So without further ado, I'll introduce you to the Yes campaign. They've got 10 minutes to speak. I'll let you introduce yourself, Sean.
Absolutely fine.
Okay, so I'll pass you across to the Yes campaign.
Do you want to stand or sit? Or
Whatever you're comfortable with.
I'm sitting. That's fine. Thank you very much for that. And thank you very much for having me. My name is Bruce. I'm the Vice President Union Development of the National Union Students, and thank you very much for having me to chat about the benefits of a strong national voice of youth seeking. I used to be a student in Hull, based in UK City Culture in 2017. Got involved in my student union through like sports teams and societies and different forms of student ops. And before that, I was born in Dover, right down in the southeast of England. That's my family history. So I just want to tell you a little bit about myself. My main argument splits like 4 key bits, which is what is NUS, then what is NUS ever done for us in kind of like Monty Python-esque sort of way. What are the problems that have been raised when I've been talking to students up and down the country that we've been having a conversation about with referendum, and then finally like the benefits of a national voice that you just don't get from being outside a national body. So I guess the first thing to say is like NUS is a 96-year-old organisation. It was set up in the aftermath of the First World War. It was based very simply on the idea that students coming together to decide stuff and talk to each other. It's better than young people trading like bombs and bullets with each other. So we've been around for a very long time. Broadly, I imagine most people know NUS for 2 main things. One is that we have an NUS extra card, right? Yeah, student discounts. And then the second is that we do some form of politics, basically, that you will see us at protests or demonstrations or some random guys in the building throwing fire extinguisher off it, right? Yeah. But in reality, we actually do a fair bit more than that. And also, I've just realised we didn't put a fire extinguisher in the building. Need to make that clear, just realised we'll post it up. And the 3 things we do are, one is that we do a national voice and lobbying bit. So we are the people who collect the views of students, student unions across the UK, and will lobby on behalf of students to government, to ministers, to business, to different members of select committees, to education regulators, every single person and every single thing that has any kind of insight or influence over student life, whether or not that's housing, education, whatever. NUS is in that room advocating on behalf of students, right? So that's the first thing. The second thing is more my shtick, which is the union development side. So basically my job is anything and everything to do with making student unions better. So there are 600, or 569 exactly, student unions who are affiliated across to NUS across the UK. There are about 10 of them who aren't, but the overwhelming vast majority of them are. And anything to do with legal advice, training, staff support, officer support, offering campaign briefings, offering briefings and stuff that's going on in government, in politics, anything and everything to make your student unions better, more functional, stronger, is stuff that we do as well. And then the third and final bit is we do the enterprise bit, which is also my bit, which is very much about how we save students money and then how we make sure that student unions make money so they can put that money back into students' pockets, right? So that we can help you guys run excellent teams, societies or campaigns. So that's all of the stuff in some sense. That's my 30-second elevator steer in terms of what NUS is and what it does. So moving on to the second part then basically. So what has NUS ever done for us? And I guess my precursor to this, right, is that when I was a student in the pub, I very much didn't know what was going on in NUS, and I didn't feel like I had a connection to it. And actually, if you'd asked me to affiliate to it, I'm not entirely convinced how I would have voted. So I guess I'm coming at this from a place very much of not having been a signed and sealed NUS convert the entirety of my life, which hopefully is useful to know. Because of the ability of NUS as a national body, right, to be able to influence nationally, we've actually had a number of really significant wins for students over the years. And what I mean by that is that all of the issues that are specific to Chester students, right, and whether or not that's about student housing, whether or not it's about drinks prices, transport, anything and everything to do with your education, whilst there are absolutely things that could be and should be dealt with locally, and that's why we support your students' union, in reality a lot of those things are dealt with nationally. They're government decisions, they're decisions made by national business. And if I went through the long litany of stuff, even in the last 5, 10, 20 years, the reason why students don't pay council tax, for instance, is because NUS lobbied on behalf of it. These 16 to 25 rail cards, who's got one of those? Hands up. Yeah, that's the one. Was because NUS lobbied for it on behalf of student unions in the 1970s and 80s. The £5 million that was put into student unions a couple of years ago through Husky for the Green Fund, which set up lots of sustainability projects to make student unions money as well as make student unions more environmental, came from NUS lobby. And everything from last year in the run to the general election, where we got 500k from the Cabinet Office to get more students registered to vote, all the way through to the fact that NUS helped set up the University UK Sexual Harassment Task Force. Every single facet of student life, right? If I were to poll everyone in this room about education, about the things that matter to you, right? And often the criticism that we get, and I'll come to in a second, is that we are not relevant, that we don't understand students, that we don't give a shit, basically. If we polled everyone in this room about the stuff that I think students care about based on having visited 200 students' unions over the last year and a half, we would have had significant wins on every single one of them. And I guess we're not always the best at communicating those things. Students don't always know about why those things have happened or how. But genuinely, if we were to, I'm sure those questions will come in, what have we done on X, Y, Z things to do with housing? Like, we were the people who were lobbying for getting rid of administration fees, as the Chancellor did in this last budget before last, all the way through to the issues that we've had with the teaching excellence framework and tuition fees increasing again, which we lobbied successfully for the laws to vote against that, which is why it's been bounced back to the Commons. On tuition fees, on housing, on transport, NUS has had significant wins and student life has been demonstrably better because of that. And the reason why is because you were part of something national, is because people like me, idiots like me with my City Fringe and my random Dover cases, have been able to sit in a room with the legitimacy of 600 student unions behind us and say, this is what students want, and that's the only way it works. So yeah, a long list of wins, right? And by the way, I guess the only caveat to this is, we're aware we're not the government, right? Like, we couldn't stop tuition fees being troubled in 2012, we had a down and go at it, and basically took down Lib Dems as a part of that, and that wasn't the aim of it, but that was hung around their neck for a very long time afterwards. But we're aware that we can't stop or save everything, but we've given a good go at it. The third bit really is like, what are the problems? A part of my job as VPUD is to be the officer that's in charge of membership affiliation. As you may or may not be aware, we've had a fair few affiliation referendums over the last year or so that may have been noticed. And I guess there are a couple of key things that always come up, right? So one is that NUS is some kind of hotbed of radical left-wing, irrelevant, random, revolutionary politics, right? That's the first one that always comes up. They're all a bit mad. And I guess the first thing I would say to you is that there's a broad diversity of politics in NUS, as there should be. There is everyone with, from Conservatives on our National Executive Council all the way through to far left. There are people who don't consider themselves politically involved in student unions, and I think that's absolutely great as well. I myself am not, a member of a political party, nor am I, a part of whatever left-wing random clique we all assume NUS officers to be. And so I guess the point is that we often come across, because that's the stuff that comes out a lot of the time, as part of this weird, really hard left thing. In reality, day in, day out in the office talking to student unions, that's not what we do, and we don't govern like that, and nor should witnesses that. The second thing is that I imagine it's come up quite a lot as anti-Semitism within NUS, and the issues that the student movement has had, and actually the left has had in the problem in society, in particular post-Brexit with Jewish students. And the two things I would say to you is that, as a part of a review that we did in terms of institutional racism, we are about to start going into an independent second review in terms of anti-Semitism, because we're taking that so seriously, and a number of the actions that came out off the back of that specifically attributed to anti-Semitism, because that's a concern that's been raised by Jewish students up and down the country. The second thing is that our Vice President of Society and Citizenship, so another Vice President called Bobby Young, has actually specifically done some work on the experiences of Jewish students and how they feel in student unions and NUS. That's going to be launched in the next month. There are a number of recommendations that can come out from that as well. So I guess the thing I would say to you is that as someone who's worked very closely with the Union of Jewish Students, and hopefully as someone who Jewish students feel like they can talk to, is that it's an allegation we take incredibly seriously. It's something we're trying to deal with, and that we will always listen to Jewish students when they say NUS isn't a safe place for them to be. So there's that. The third one is to, I guess, the freedom of speech. And I saw some of the notes to NUS stuff. I'll check on your Facebook page. I'm going to try that today. And one of the things about freedom of speech, and I'm sure we'll get into this in more detail, but I guess the only thing I can say over and over again, repeatedly, no matter how many times there's a 7-second clip of me on the internet misquoting George Orwell, is that we absolutely believe in freedom of speech, that we believe in debate. And I find it really, really weird when I'm literally sat at debates debating people whilst they tell me that we don't like debates. And that I have absolutely no problem swinging verbal blows at anyone I like, as do neither do any other NUS officer or other people involved in students' unions. Debate and discourse are a lifeblood of the movement, and yeah, you could be better at being more inclusive sometimes. Every students' union could, every single political organisation could, but we absolutely do believe in freedom of speech, and we talk about all sorts of different things, whatever students say. So that's that. A minute. And the fourth and final thing is our democracy, and actually works quite nicely, is that we're not democratic enough. And long before all of this stuff happened with the affiliation referendum, we had already, and I've been mandated and elected on a mandate of democratic reform of NUS. There is a new package of democracy that's going to national conference this year. I would lobby your delegates who are in this room, one of them sat next to me, to vote for it, because we acknowledge the fact there are lots of different things we can do in our democracy differently. So I guess what I'm saying to you is that NUS has had a long and proud history of advocating for students. We've actually kind of killed it in a number of different ways. There are a number of difficult things that we're having to deal with. All of them are being listened to, all of them are being actioned, and that the benefit you get by being a part of something national, the benefits that you get by being part of something bigger than yourself, far outweighs any issues that you may have. And if you want to change something, you do so from within. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Richard.
Thank you.
Is the question we're going to be voting on tomorrow is, should CSU remain affiliated to the National Union of Students? I'm sure you already knew that, so that's what we're in the room to decide. That was again, in case you thought you wanted into the Birdwatching Society or something, should have probably pointed that out. So that was the Yes campaign's first pitch as to why you should vote yes, and now we'll have the pitch for the campaign why you should vote no. Thank you, Jacob.
First thing to come out on something we may have just brushed over, but when we were talking about fire extinguishers being chucked off the top of the building, that was the student riots, which was perpetuated started by protest from students, and the fact you made fun of that is completely disgusting. And the fact you done that here probably shows why the NUS has so many problems, because people like these things like that. The National Union of Students fails to represent students. It's time we stood up for the NUS. It's time we oppose the failure to do with anti-Semitism and the anti-free speech agenda and general poor representation, as we just saw there. Firstly, the NUS have failed to deal with anti-Semitism. Marley Boutier, president of the NUS, called Birmingham University a Zionist outpost because of the large Jewish society there. She stated that the media outlets are Zionist-led. The president opposes the peace process as a colonial project. This is the president of an organisation which we are funding with our fees. The Union of Jewish Students is no longer consulted on the selection of Jewish representatives on the NUS Anti-Racism and Anti-Fascist Task Force. The Home Affairs Select Committee, a high-profile committee in Parliament, criticised the NUS for not taking anti-Semitism seriously on campus. An NUS inquiry, which just happened on the president, found what she stated could be reasonably capable of being interpreted as anti-Semitic, yet she received no punishment. This is not good enough. The NUS completely failed to deal with anti-Semitism on campus and failed to represent the views of Chester students. It's time to no longer put up or shut up. It's time to speak out and say no to NUS. No to anti-Semitism and yes to liberation, which will allow us to put the work in and eventually say to Jewish students on campus, you are safe. To come on to the anti-free speech agenda of the NUS. The NUS is anti-free speech. Its no platforming policy was set up with good intentions to prevent extremists radicalising students from the far right and the far left. This policy is now abused to silence those the NUS and other student unions disagree with. Nick Lowles, the chief executive of Hope Not Hate, an anti-racist campaigner, was banned under no platform from attending a student union meeting. Peter Thatchell, a campaigner for LGBT rights for his whole life, was banned for being transphobic. And Boris Johnson was banned and George Galloway was banned. These people arguably aren't extremists. The NUS have directly challenged academic free speech. And in the words of Peter Thatchell, I don't think people with offensive views should be given a free pass. They should be challenged. The best way to do this is through open debate to refute their intolerance. The NUS also recently supported the student union in banning a society from accessing the social media for sharing a post about how bad free speech was on campus. Yes to NUS, we talked about discounts, but at what price? Freedom of speech? We will not be bribed into silence. Come on now, full representation. The NUS offers us full representation. The student union here offers us very good representation. And the president here is very, very good. This is about handing power to the people who speak on our behalf back to our student union president rather than the NUS and getting real representation. A great example is the NSS survey. The NUS want to boycott the NSS survey. This survey will go towards our rating as a university, whether we're bronze, silver or gold. If we boycotted this, we could have been a bronze university. Your degree could have devalued. That is not student representation at all. And the NUS don't work with government. The fact that two of their VPs called for a revolution and a general strike, like some kind of 1917 Russian revolution. Politicians don't take the issue seriously, and the Home Affairs Select Committee comments show that. Since 1969, the NUS presidents have been on the radical left, or the far left, and Wes Streeting, the former president of the NUS, said the NUS is lost. Campaigns are ineffective and have recently been taken over the work of other organisations. The rising tuition fees show that. And the great irony that by campaigning against the Liberal Democrats, they met in a Conservative government which completely supported tuition fees, whether you agree with it or disagree with it. The NUS do not represent us anymore. Undemocratically elected presidents continue to come from the same political sphere. They are obsessed with party politics and fail to represent us on housing and education policy. Voting no to NUS will empower the FU to represent us more clearly on these issues and work with other organisations and independent student unions to further them. To summarise, the SU has failed to the NUS has failed to represent us, has failed to offer us real representation. The NUS doesn't offer us national representation, more like national humiliation. The NUS doesn't represent the views of Chester students. It's failed to deal with anti-Semitism. It's trying to silence our free speech. Empower Chester student unions and give us real representation. Someone on our Facebook page stated recently that leaving the NUS should be our last resort. This is the last resort. The NUS cannot be reformed. It is not democratic, and our duty is to stand against the NUS, vote no tomorrow, and yes to real representation.
Thank you very much, Joseph. Just a reminder, I can see lots of you are already doing it, but if you have got any questions, if any of the comments from our two first speakers have sparked extra questions, extra comments from you, please do write them down, hold them in the air, and one of the SU team will come round and take them from you. Okay, without further ado, we'll go on to the second round of information speeches. These will be 5 minutes in duration, and we'll start again with the Yes campaign, Sherelle.
Hey everyone, I'm sure you all know who I am, but I'm Sherelle Mitchell, Chester Students' Union President, and I'm going to speak on behalf of NUS affiliation. I don't usually write speeches, but I'm really passionate about this, so it says a lot, but I'm going to kick straight into it because I've only got 5 minutes. But I started with a Winston Churchill quote, and he once said, attitude is a little thing that makes a big difference. So yes. Most students don't think about the National Union of Students, but every single student here benefits from the great work that they do. Having been a sabbatical officer and actually involved with the NUS, I've actually seen at the first hand all of the great work that has been done, especially with Chester Students' Union. As a student, I actually knew probably just about the extra card, and that was about it. I saw all the incredible discounts, and that alone brings £13,000 back to the Students' Union. and back to your student experience. And that's as part of the affiliation fee of £20,000 that we pay out to them. Bear in mind it was 15,000 last year. And without the NUS Extra card, Chester SU would have to secure similar discounts across 160 local, national and international partners. And if the No campaign are up for doing that, then honestly be my guest, because I definitely don't want to sit around doing that. So why do we have cheap drinks, food prices, and cheap drinks and food prices in our bar, Starbucks and our shop? That's NUS, believe it or not. Without NUS, we would have to solely go with different trades and extortionate non-student prices, maybe a little something like White's and the university catering on campus. We want to stay as cheap as possible for the sake of our students, and not to mention keeping your bazaar as cheap as possible. We actually save a further £2,000 being affiliated with the NUS whilst we keep our prices cheap for you. That's a saving of £15,000 in total. You can only do the math. So what have Chester SU been involved in from the NUS support? We've taken part in the NUS Green Impact Programme to ensure that Chester SU is green and a sustainable union. We've campaigned for Wednesday afternoons to be kept free for schools and societies. CH1 Bar is accredited safe drinking space. We've attended the national demonstration to protest against fee rises in higher education. NUS also provides CSU officers with campaign material, and this has resulted in big wins for us here. That's such as free course books for first years, free resit fees, and reduced hidden course costs. Officers gain valuable training at conferences during SU networking events. We focus on a variety of different topics such as women in leadership, mental health, LGBT inclusivity, black ethnic minority, and the list goes on and on. We've also supported the library fines, which you no longer have to pay for, because they tried to stop us from graduating unless we paid them, so that's clear. We've campaigned for employers to recognise society and sport club community positions. We've got a national inquiry into sexual harassment on campus. Campaigned for the introduction of postgrad loans, ensuring that they are available to all students no matter what their age. We've secured, as Richard has already said, about council tax, and that actually saves us £1,000 an hour accommodation. We've introduced the rail card, as we've all said, and the majority of you have got that. So Chester SU represents around 19,000 students and can be very effective in making local changes. However, it is 100% important that our 19,000 students have the chance to have a national voice. And by representation, I don't understand what you mean by that when you say that we don't have enough representation with the NUS, because I can't think of any other way that we'd be able to get that when we support 3 million students across the UK. It is important that we continue to use our membership to NUS to feed into this, to make sure that Chester has a voice. Even if you may not agree with some of the politics issues NUS take up, being a member always allows you to question them and shape the direction of their organisation. That's when you see your NUS delegates. The University of Chester students are able to submit motions to NUS via national conferences, as we've spoken of, which is on the 28th of April. And we can actually take lead on that organisation. If you want to make those changes, then why would you want to disaffiliate from the NUS? Chester SU disaffiliation would mean a fractured and weaker national movement, and we need to be a part of that with the 19,000 students we've got here across Warrington, Shrewsbury and Chester. So please vote yes and help your fellow students across all campuses, and as you know, we are all better together. With the NUS, we are stronger, we're richer, and we're louder at a time when the student movement needs us most. Vote yes, Chester.
Chevelle, and the final speech on the no side for the next 5 minutes. Thank you very much. When you're ready.
Hello, my name is Bonnie. I'm a first-year student. I study international relations along with Chinese. As someone who studies international relations, I do a lot of debating and get into politics. That's why I joined the debating society. But recently what I've noticed is no freedom of speech in debating society. As much as the Yes campaign has said there's freedom of we're not allowed to debate about. There's some topics that we do debate about, we're heavily regulated or we have a warning. So I think the freedom of speech on this campus has gone so far to a point like we're starting to be censored. It's not like democratic for us as a uni student, and we're meant to be able to express our opinions in any way as possible as we're being prepared to go into the real world, into real life. My second point is the NUS card. Even if we do use the NUS, we can still use our NUS. We can still use our NUS cards, and we can still have these student discounts just by showing our student cards just in shops or just going on uni days. As well as third point, as to go to the anti-Semitic. The president of the NUS has not been punished. She has not been asked to stand down from her position for her anti-Semitic comments. As well as the NUS isn't representative of the LGBT community, as they've said before that gay men are not oppressed because they are responsible for transphobia and sexism. That is very ridiculous to say, as we all know homophobia does exist, and the NUS is helping homophobia to live on campuses in a way. To conclude, I think leaving the NUS is a better choice for us as students, as it will help us to be more sovereign, help us have more control over our student union. So I think we should have more close relationship with our student union rather than having someone who doesn't even represent us half the time to represent us on the national scale.
Okay, thank you very much to all the speakers. We're just collecting the last few questions in, so we're just going to take a quick 2-minute break, allow me a quick comfort break while we sort out the questions. And we will be back here in just 2 minutes' time, so at 20 to 7, we'll be back starting again. Thank you very much.
I'll try and get
If it's just over there, I'll... elevator music going. The old school BBC like high valve
Any more questions? 1 minute.
I just wanted to see like what you're showing. I feel like it was cool.
Oh, you're not the same one.
Oh no, I don't want to search for there.
Well, yeah, it was just like, yeah, exactly this.
See, I spent a good 5 minutes picking the file. This was a bit long. Then it's a good design. That was great. But I did design the words. The words are on the channel. You are?
Yeah, no, I don't. Couldn't imagine the rest. I mean,
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for the questions. There is an awful lot of overlap on the questions, as you might expect. You can clearly see that some of the things on both sides of the debate have triggered further thoughts and questions in your mind. So where possible, we pulled a few of those together. I'll perhaps pick up one particular example. There have been quite a few statements written down. Thank you for giving us the statements, but obviously they're not questions, so I'm not able to share those now, but thank you all the same. We will read them and enjoy them later. For those of you that have asked questions specifically about Chester-related representation issues, those are ones that will absolutely be passed on to the Chester representation team afterwards, because they're clearly issues that are affecting you, and we will certainly pass them on to the team, but I don't feel that they are relevant for this particular national debate that we're talking about here. Okay, so if you've got any more questions, we have got plenty to keep us going, but if there's anything burning, perhaps it's something that hasn't already been covered, so please do continue to pass them across to Katie and Hannah, and we will get through as many of these as we can. Most questions are either directed to the no team or to the yes team, so I will direct my question in that way. The opposite side will have an opportunity to respond as well, but in some cases there'll be no need to, because it's a repeat sheets are a follow-on from a point that they've earlier made. So if they choose not to, it's not a reflection that they haven't got to riposte to it. It's just that they've already spoken about those issues. Okay, look at me using riposte at whatever time of night it is. Thank you very much. Thank you, Richard. Okay, so we will start with a question aimed particularly at the No Team. In the No Team's manifesto, it says vote for real representation, vote no to NUS, but does not say what that means. If we leave the NUS, who will represent us nationally and how?
I think that's kind of two questions there. The first is, what does real representation mean? It means representation that stands up there, anti-Semitism, representation that stands up to free speech, representation that is not overly party political, and represents us on matters seriously. And how would that happen if we left the NUS? Well, partly I think we can get very good relations with other people, other unions that have left. St Andrews never ever joined the National Union of Students and are one of the best universities in the country, in the United Kingdom. But real representation on a national level will be a mixture of from our student unions. But the thing is, we don't want representation from the NUS because we don't want the kind of things that they're doing at the moment. The things around anti-free speech. It's about saying what you're doing is wrong and we're not going to stand up for it anymore.
Thank you. Is there anything you'd like to return?
Just to pretty much say, with Chester Students' Union, we absolutely do not have to go with any NUS policy, nor agree with what they're saying. We are our own entity and it's completely up to us. It's the same with the NSS boycott. We didn't boycott the NSS, we left that up to students to make their own decisions. So it's up to us what we do, and I'm willing to listen to our student body purely from Chester, and we will feed into NUS when we'd like to do so for true representation, because there is no other national policy.
Thank you very much. The next question, it's directed at the Yes Team. Surely the no platforming policy portrays a supreme lack of confidence in not only students' ability to recognise bad ideas, but also unis to poorly educate. Why does the NUS assume that it will always be on the right side of history? What's to stop this power being used to silence a minority that is being abused and should be heard?
I'll take that one, that's right. So I just want to firstly actually explain what the no platform policy is, because basically what seems to have happened over the last year or so is that, or a couple of years, is that when a broadly older white guy finds that students don't agree with him, he shouts that he's being no platforms and then runs away. And actually the no platform policy is a democratic sided policy, right? So NUS has one for NUS stuff. Student unions across the country have their own policies. Again, Fisherell said we don't make student unions have a policy. There are lots of student unions who have no platform policies. There are loads who don't, and we're totally comfortable with that because it's for students locally to decide. So that's the first thing. Second thing is what the no platform policy actually is. As was rightly said, it was set up in the 1970s and 80s to combat rising fascist and racist on campus, basically. So there are 6 organisations, again, all democratically decided at a national conference on that list. All of those individuals that you heard earlier are not no platform. I literally debated here actually 4 weeks ago, right? We don't no platform these people. Whether or not some people want to have a debate with them or don't want to or not is another thing. But actually we don't no platform people. If people want to debate individuals, we absolutely will do. Those 6 organisations, by the way, are Pittsburgh to Rear, the English Defence League and the BNP, right? Those are the sorts of, they're conscribed groups mostly, right? They're groups that the government ban. In reality, that is it, and they're very narrow specific policies. In reality, we are all for freedom of speech, we're all for having debates. Again, we are obviously sat at a table where we disagree with someone else on another table. I'm not trying to no platform someone right now, no matter what that means. No platform policies are democratically decided, they're narrow, they're specific, they're to do with fascist and racist organisations. We do not no platform random individuals we don't like. We don't no platform Nick Lowes, and he actually apologised to any of us after he posted that Facebook says, and he realised he got it wrong. And with Peter Tatchell again, I've literally debated the guy. So I understand the concerns about freedom of speech, and there's always going to be a balance between managing free debate as well as making sure that people don't have to deal with hate speech, right? That will always be a balance that free and democratic side to deal with. In reality, we are absolutely for freedom of speech, and most of the things we hear about us when it comes to containing freedom of speech are either absolutely nothing to do with us or are absolutely fundamentally untrue.
I wish what Richard just told you was true, and what he said was true about the original idea of what the no platform policy should be. But the problem is, if you read through the guidance, which I personally have, it links it to safe spaces, it links it to other things that have come into modern day discourse. And the problem is that's now being used as an excuse for other student unions to silence free speech. As that society which put out on their Facebook page that they know that they were upset because their student union was anti-free speech or had a bad rating on free speech, the NUS did nothing about the breaking of free speech, nothing about the SU that got rid of that Facebook page. They weren't interested. So the idea that the NUS are somehow going against all these student unions who are using their policies to criticise free speech, the fact that they're going against that, no, Marley's not spoken about that. I've not heard anybody else speak about that. That's not been published. You haven't come out about the issue of the input.
Okay, thank you very much. The next question towards the noting. Using uni days, etc., instead of NUS cards wouldn't give back money to our student union and us, would it? NUS is giving money back to us. How would you put this money back instead?
Okay, so £20,000 of our budget goes to the NUS. They then make £15,000 from the NUS extra cards. So actually we are giving more money to the NUS than we're getting. So, but coming back into discounts, if we, all our BP education was elected recently on the platform, put a date of birth and a date of ending your degree on your card. And if you put that on your student card, it sort of makes it even better. And a mixture of that and the mixture of the SU card and the uni days is a perfectly viable form of discounts. But I don't want discounts at the sake of silencing free speech. I don't want discounts at the sake of an organisation that fails to deal with anti-Semitism. We have to decide as well how we're going to deal with that. And coming on to discounts again, Hull, who are leaving, have successfully put their bar in place and put their shop in place. They're going through what I want to do. They're leaving. There's been no rises in prices. They found alternative people to sell the products to them. And there's no reason why we couldn't do that.
Thank you very much.
Sure. I'll do the discount shebang because it's my stuff. So firstly, the NUS extra card was set about 10 years ago, right? It has over 200 partners on it, everyone from, fashion retailers all the way through to National Rail, to National Express, to Peter Express, 40% off on Monday. Oh my God. About a third of them are exclusive deals. You do not get them anywhere else. You don't get them in uni days. You don't get them locally. So I guess it's the first thing to say. Second thing to say is that I think there are a couple of key things that are different to the extra card and any other student discount that you see. The one that we want to talk about really is the fact that money goes into student unions. Every single other discount scheme that you have as student discount scheme goes to line the pockets of people who are running it, and that's okay, but in reality, a third of the money, well actually over a third, nearly half of the money for an NUS extra card goes back into the student union. The other half, apart from the tiny bit that actually costs to make the plastic of the card and send it to people and that, goes into NUS, but that goes specifically on campaigns and democracy and helping students. We don't use it to pay me lots of money or anything. It goes specifically to help students. So I guess that's the first thing. The second thing that's unique to the NUS extra card is that we use all of that. So about 950,000 active hold users of the NUS extra card. We use all of that power, that buying power essentially, to lobby other institutions and to lobby other organisations to basically make them more ethical, make them more environmental, make them more sustainable. Because that's something the students have told us over and again they feel very strongly about. So we will literally work multinational organisations to make that a reality. So my thing with the NUS extra card is that student unions make money off of it. It saves students a shit ton of money as well as loads of exclusive discounts, and it also makes the world a better place. There simply isn't any other student discount that has that offer. We will always add new partners on, we will always try and make it better. But in reality, the thing that we will talk about in terms of being able to get other discounts through using the student card, you can't do that online. You can game the system a little bit, you can't do it online. You can't do it in most major retailers because they're all briefed to only do it with the NUS extra card. So those discounts will not be available to Chester students. And I don't think it's a trade-off between student discounts and anti-Semitism or freedom of speech. I think I've already articulated, or tried to anyway, why we bloody love freedom of speech and don't hate it. And I'm happy to talk about anti-Semitism in some detail, but I think you get both. You get excellent national representation, it's trying to improve anyway, and then you get world-class student discounts as well.
Thank you very much. It's another one across to the noting. On a similar line of the money, if we were to disaffiliate from NUS and save £20,000 a year, when do you suggest that that money should be better reinvested than if it wasn't going to NUS?
So the money that we would save from leaving, whatever figure it ends up being, because obviously things change, next year, change in Europe. It would be up to the student union president here. It would be up to what they would invest in. I mean, I have my personal preferences, and they're my personal preferences, but we elect directly our VPs to spend that money for us, and how they want to spend it. We don't directly elect the vice presidents of the NUS to spend a lot of money using it.
Okay, so if you can somehow turn that question around to yourselves as well, how might you better invest that 20,000 if you can?
I think we're elected, I mean, all our elected officers are here today, and we're all in the Yes campaign, and we much prefer to spend £20,000, knowing the fact that we're actually getting the majority of it back and getting pumped back into our student experience, whilst getting all the great campaign material, representation, and it is true representation, training, legal advice, more support. It's completely endless. And I'd just throw it right back. Where on earth would you want to spend that money when a students' union is representation? It's not solely just about sports and societies and advice, it's representation. That is the core of students' unions. So I can't think of a better way to spend it. I think we should be pumping more money into it. Don't get any ideas anyway. Stop.
Okay, thank you very much. This next question is more of a political opinion, but I think relevant. It's already been raised this evening. It's about NSS. Can both sides please give their viewpoint on what they feel about the ranking system that the NSS might be perceived to lead into? And can you give what you might consider the benefits and potential drawbacks of both of those? Perhaps if I can start with the no side, as you raised the NSS point out.
Well, I'm not going to give my personal opinion, but it's be hostile, because our personal opinions don't reflect the people who have been part of our company, which are from a wide group of people, some who may support NSS, some who may support the board. But the NSS survey itself, we are with this situation now that we have NSS, and we decide how we react to that situation. If we boycott the survey, we would have got a wrong rating, and your degree would be devalued. I mean, there wasn't enough universities boycotting it because the government said, oh, we can't do it anymore, because you had an individual choice. But this was a policy that the NUS were promoting. They want to devalue your degree. And that comes back from the show. If they were true, Cheryl's point, if they were true national representation, they truly represent the views of students in Chester, I'd be all for it, but they don't. And we've had the arguments of why. It's not about saying we don't want national representation, we want true national representation, and I think that we are embarrassed as a student union to be affiliated to the NUS.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, so I think with the NSS boycott, we brought to Student Council and we had a very healthy debate as to what it was that we want to do for Chester Students' Union. We as sabbatical officers didn't feel comfortable enough to actually make that decision, so we brought it to Student Council, which has got over 22 members, including electronic people as well. And there's two very big sides, and to a certain extent I agree with what Joseph says. And I also think, obviously, with TEF, it's not great, the metrics and the use of NSS is shocking, but what other student voice is there that the university are actually using, and what else? You know, I do want to see alternatives as opposed to NSS and what it is that we can actually measure student satisfaction. And I think that's a question we probably all need to ask ourselves, you know, what is it that would be able to do to measure what we would truly think or need from students. And you know, that's why we left it to students to do their own research and go ahead with whether, if you want to fill that NSS survey in and, you know, put it to use, and then maybe help the university find out what it is that you want to improve in your university experience, by all means. But then, you know, I'm not saying that you're trying to increase tuition fees either, because I don't think that's necessarily it, and it does depend whether we're going to be bronze, silver or gold. And I think we're currently maybe silver, which is great for the university, and you know, we do want to look fancy when we leave, but we don't want to start marketising our education at the end of the day, and you know, we want to fight that, and that's what NUS are trying to do. We don't want to become this marketised system and have our student loans sold to random business companies. It's not fair on us. We should be fighting for what's right for students. I'm going off on a trail now, back to Princess. I don't necessarily agree with it, but I don't see an alternative. And that's my viewpoint.
Okay, thank you. There are 2 more questions. Thank you so much. There's no way you could get through the whole pile that we've been given, so we're trying to draw a genuine cross-section of those. After we've read these 2 questions, each side will have just a moment to quickly sum up at the end, should they wish to, just so we can draw the final points together. So the last 2 questions. You talked about representation of campaigns and the work that NUS does. Can you tell us what campaigns NUS are running at the moment, and importantly, what difference you think you can make on those on a national level that we couldn't do locally?
I'll say that. So I guess there are 4 main things that we're doing right now, and I'll tell you about all the things that we've won working with students across the country to do that. So first is the Higher Education Research Bill. We talked a little bit about the NSS boycott, the increase in tuition fees and all that stuff. What NUS have been doing is working with student unions across the country to lobby members of Parliament, people in the House of Lords who affiliate to certain areas to be able to pass amendments to the Higher Education Research Bill for things that students have consistently told us that they wanted. So obviously the first thing is no increase in tuition fees. The House of Lords voted on an amendment to decouple the link between the Teaching Excellence Framework and tuition fees. It's a massive win. It's going back to the House of Commons now, and there's going to be a whole bit of ping pong around that. There's loads of other stuff that we've won as a part of the Higher Education Research Bill. Ping pong is the exact turn of phrase, thank you very much, Ethan. And there's been all sorts of other stuff to do with the Higher Education Research Bill, so to do with getting rid of international students as part of the migration figures, as well as making sure that all students who go to university are automatically on the electoral register. So there are 3 major wins as a part of that one package of work, all of which I think students can get behind. So there's one. The second is probably to do with FE area reviews. I don't necessarily expect you guys to know loads about it, but essentially the government over the last 7 years has systematically cut up to by about 40% funding to go to colleges. They've now got to the point about 18 months ago where they were like, oh, we can't cut anymore, so we have to force colleges together to help them to survive, because if we cut anymore, they literally won't have staff. So we've been working with FE student unions on that, and obviously lobbying for further investment into further education. What you may have heard about is that at the budget that Philip Hammond announced last week, there was £500 million that went into FE into further education as part of the T-level qualifications. That's extra funding that goes into FE off the back of an NUS campaign. So the second thing. Third thing is Brexit. Obviously, as you're aware, there's a fair amount of stuff going on. And I guess the main thing to say about that is that are you guys aware of the court case that happened to do with Brexit, where the government tried to invoke Brexit by itself and didn't want to get Parliament to say on it? Are you all aware of that yet? So there was an NUS officer who literally stood in the Supreme Court when that happened because they were part of that legal challenge. So the idea of that entire thing behind that was the fact that Parliament, and through them the people, had absolutely no say or no view on how Brexit was conducted for a legal challenge that was led by an NUS officer as well as by the to the Challenge Article 50 group. We literally made that happen. So that's the third thing. And then the fourth thing is to do with the rise of hate crime and sexism and sexual assault and all sorts of different forms of hate crime that happened post-Brexit. We've done a number of pieces of work on that, too much of it to go into detail, but basically we're doing a number of roundtables and in particular different sector stakeholders. So we talked about the Universities UK Sexual Harassment Task Force. We've done a number of different roundtables to anti-Semitism, racism, xenophobia, Islamophobia, about how we can support students to be able to deal with those issues locally. So I'd say those are the 4 main things we're doing, and we've had a pretty good couple of months in terms of winning stuff for students. One thing I haven't mentioned, I guess, is about the sexual relationship education is now going to be compulsory in schools, which has been an NUS campaign for the last 3 years, and the government announced they were doing that a couple of weeks ago as well, so we do all right.
One would be concerned with the government doing everything that the NUS wanted, then why would they be calling for a revolution? So it's been a bit reworded, the idea the NUS has been putting into all of those things directly. The Higher Education Research Bill, they went against that by standing outside Parliament, and that was the point when they called for a revolution, and by making rude and derogatory comments about the government, which you may feel that way, but that's not the best way to negotiate with the government. I don't see trade unions across all the workforce negotiating with the government by calling them rude names. And going back into FE, I mean, 40% cut. You failed again to negotiate with the government and to deal with that. That's not representation. and one corrects it and hate crime. Where's the word anti-Semitism? So of course, no, I didn't hear you, sorry, I didn't hear that. But there has not been a direct campaign by the NUS, an anti-Semitism, an anti-Semitism campaign. There's not been that direct campaign. So you've not dealt with those issues, but the idea that all of these issues that somehow been magically crossed over by the NUS campaign.
Okay, thank you. And the final question, which will direct first to the no, then the yes, and we'll have a quick sum up from both sides. Have the no campaign contacted the disaffiliated student unions to find out how the students' union is doing, how it's functioning, and how the students feel?
Yes, I have. I have contacted them, and they're doing really, really well. Hull especially are doing really, really well. St Andrews are doing well. They've never been a part of the student union before. They've all managed to deal with the problems that have been raised here. They've all managed to deal with discounts and lower prices. They've not had problems. I mean, I don't know if there was any. I won't say.
Yeah, well, I've been a no hold quite well. As I mentioned at the start, right, there are literally 600 student unions in the country. 96% of all student unions in the country are affiliated to NUS. There are 4% that aren't. There are about 10 that aren't. So there are some outside of NUS. No one is saying, right, I'm not saying that if you disaffiliate from NUS tomorrow, it'll be like the end of Lord of the Rings and the Eye of Sauron's going to come collapsing down and there'll be a big hole that lands in like the centre of campus, right? Like, no one is saying that. All we are saying is that we think Chester Student Union will be less effective and that you will be able to input less into national decisions and that you won't be able to move towards a student union or a strong student union as a part of that. I know, I literally saw the president of the Newcastle Student Union last week. I know the whole guys quite well. As the president of that student union, yes, that was awkward when that happened, don't worry about it. And I guess the thing I'd say to you is, Briggs, Price and Hull have not increased because the student union have taken on the extra work and the extra cost that took on because they were very clear they didn't want to pass that cost on to students. Same with Newcastle Student Union. It's a large student union. Briggs prices haven't gone up in there from what I can tell because we've been able to negotiate some deals locally that are more short term. So that stuff hasn't happened in the short term. It absolutely will do in the long term because they're taking on those costs. I guess the bit that I would say is that, having been in non-affiliate student unions is what strikes me every time I walk into one of them, whether or not that's Southampton, Imperial or wherever, having been in most of them, is that they always ask for the stuff. And what I mean by that is we will get messaged all the time by South in most places and other student union officers get messages saying, have you got this piece of research that we've done, or have you got this piece of legal advice that you've done? Can we come to this event? Can we please come to national conference? And the reason why is because they understand ultimately that they lose out by not being a part. And there are plenty of parts of NUS, and some of our policies, right, that I don't agree with and could do without, to be honest with you. But what those people have done is instead done it the whole way and gone, we won't have any of it, and we'll try and pick at scraps that come under the table. And in reality, we can't give them those things because they don't pay for it, right? Like student unions and affiliates are NUS pay for it. So I guess what I would say is, being really reasonable. No one's saying that Chester SU will drop to the ground tomorrow if you disaffiliated. We just think you wouldn't have a national voice. You wouldn't be as strong as student union, and you'd feel the pain of it, but you would obviously continue to survive as those other student unions are.
Okay, thank you very much. So that ends the questions. Thank you once again to all of those who submitted, and I hope you feel we gave a round view of those thoughts that were put forward. We're now going to finish with a really short summation from both sides. We'll do it in the same order as we did the speeches at the beginning to make it nice and fair. And then I'll briefly tell you at the end how you can make sure you vote and get your voice heard, whichever side of the table you're resting on this evening. So we'll begin with the yes campaign for short summation.
So pretty much, I think you all know, just try and make it as relevant to Chester Student Union as much as possible. We don't have to go with anything that the NUS policies actually do. We are our own body, we can do what we want, but I think it pretty much says we have full sabbatical officers that are elected by students with over 3,000 votes. Why would you not listen to your sabbatical officers? And if we're saying yes, I can't understand why you wouldn't, and I completely take on board what the no campaigns are saying. And I've just advised anybody else that's debating that or wants to change NUS, but I think come and speak to your NUS delegates, have a conversation, tell us what motions you want, and we're going to be that voice. It's up to us whether we want to vote the next president and all the VPs, that's up to us, and you guys can come and have a conversation with us about that. Your NUS delegates are myself, Jamie Brown, Shona Hayes, and Jack McGovern, who's just been elected. So that's a summary from me. Just keep it to Chester Students' Union as much as possible. It's up to us whether we want to. So vote yes to NUS.
Just to clarify, it was Sophie Bell that was not champagne.
It's shown as elections. Yeah. Vote Shona.
But she was the only candidate, I remember that. But it still shows how 0.002% of students voted for our president. I mean, that's a really poor representation. That is the number of students who actually get to vote for our president. Put it down is who do you want to represent? Do you want the national representation? And not allowing us freedom of speech, which are not dealing with anti-Semitism, which are not actually representing us properly to Parliament, and their successes are dropping and dropping and dropping. They say they oppose tuition fees, and that they represent us on that. But why they keep on rising if they're great representing us to the government? They seem to not be doing a great job of representing us. And it comes down to what's most important to you, I think, and how you need to deal with that. I don't believe the NUS practically represent us anymore on a national level, and they're continuously going into things, party politics, which students aren't really interested in, and they believe that they can talk on behalf of all students on party political matters, which is ridiculous. There's such a diverse range of views, and I would say vote no to NUS, but yes, for proper representation.
Thank you very much for coming and listening. Thank you to both sides for the time. Regardless of which side, I'm sure you can appreciate that it's not the easiest thing in the world to take all the questions and give their viewpoints so succinctly and clearly, as I'm sure you'll really enjoy. Right, the next important thing you need to understand is about the voting. The voting is tomorrow from 7 AM until 7 PM. So just a one-day vote tomorrow from 7 AM until 7 PM. The voting is as our normal sabbatical officer election votes. So you will be sent an email somewhere between 5 AM and 7 AM tomorrow morning. An email will come into your university email account, and that will have your unique vote code on there. If there's any problem, please do get in touch with the Students' Union, but that will have your unique vote code. As we know from our sabbatical officer elections, please check your junk email folder. Our MailChimp server likes sending it to junk email, so please do check those folders, and we'll be putting plenty of reminders on social media tomorrow as well. The results will be announced on Wednesday morning. They will be up live on our website so everybody can see the results, and we will of course show the percentage from that. To be a valid vote, we need over 500 votes. And the decision of that vote, if over 500, will be binding. If we get less than 500 votes, the decision will stay to remain exactly as we are now, which is that CSU will remain affiliated. So we need over 500 votes to make this a valid and fair vote in the referendum. Thank you very much indeed for attending. I'm sure, I've not asked them, but I'm sure both sides will be willing to take any individual questions. Is that fair? Is that okay? Just afterwards, quietly, if they've got any particular issues or points, or indeed to offer their support for the campaign tomorrow. Thank you very much, everybody.